all the disrespect before you play back. Button check. Button check.
What is up, Button Check family? Welcome back to yet again a beautiful day, a Wednesday late night. Better late than never. Buttons that need to be checked. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sub button right there. Chapters down below. Appreciate you for taking the 5 seconds it takes to just click that sub button and help the channel grow. I appreciate that, man. So we got a lot to talk about. Like I said, check these chapters because EVO done broke, and we got some surprising news, but also that FGC, they clapping back in disappointment, but also like, this is what you get. You done reap what you sowed, and they talking about that NRS community and much more. So either way, let's get some buttons. Without further ado, let's go. All right, first up for that official EVO lineup 2026 buttons that need to be checked. Now, we're just gonna do this real quick. I'm sure most of you have already saw the lineup already. Roofamonger dropped a video about this earlier today, really in depth. If you guys, I recommend checking that one out as well. But check it out real quick. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 games. 12 games they announced. What the hell is going on? But I think only half of these is going to be main stage. Not really sure how they're going to do it, but you already know. Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, Fatal Fury, Under Night In-Birth, Grand Blue, Rivals of Ether, Invincible Versus is coming out in time for some EVO 2026. But check this out. Vampire Savior? What the hell? I'm pretty sure this is the first time EVO has ever featured some Vampire Savior, and I think it's also at EVO Japan. Then we got Guilty Gear, Virtual Fighter 5, 2XKO. They already having that one, you know they gotta have that. And some Blaze Blue. Check this out, June 26th. June. Now, EVO is usually either July or August. As far as I know, in the last decade, it's always been like July or August around that time. I saw somebody say, I can't remember who, they were like, oh, it's in June. That makes it a little better for the heat. For those of you who don't know, Vegas is hotter than the damn sun. It is so hot out there, it is ridiculous. Like when you want to go in the venue, it's actually pretty cool. I know last year they had some complaints about EVO Japan. They were like, yo, this shit is crazy hot as far as like inside the venue. But Vegas, every time I went, no matter how big it was actually pretty cool in there. I was like wearing a hoodie and I was fine. But outside is the damn sun. Anyway, somebody said, oh, this will be better because it's June, so it'll be colder. No, what? No, I'm not sure who said that, but it is not cold in June in Vegas. It's literally just a month before the usual time. It's still like averages 100 degrees a day, some crazy shit like that in June in Vegas. So it is not because of the weather. Anyway, then from there, bouncing on over to the Japan side. So pretty similar. Still got the same amount of games as well. Still got Vampire Savior. I know I'm about to seem like I could literally just edit this part out and look it up and seem like I know everything, but I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna keep it real. What is this? I have no idea what this shit is, and I'm already hearing it in the comments. You're going, Nesto, how do you not know? How do you consider yourself a news channel and you don't know what this is? I can't believe you. I don't. I'm gonna be real with you. I have no idea what game this is. Please let me know in the comment section. But you see, they mixing it up a little bit, and then this one is May 1st to the 3rd. Now, real quick, talking about the money. So prize pool, EVO Japan, we're talking about 30 million yen. All right, seems like a lot of money, but you transfer it over to the good old USD, and I think that comes to like $191,000, almost $192,000 USD. So a nice little chunk of change, but then you got to split it amongst all the games. And then with EVO Vegas, it's 500,000 split amongst. So at first glance, you're like 500,000? Because you know, that's the biggest thing, or one of the biggest complaints about EVO. It's always supposed to be like our gathering, our celebration, our Super Bowl, if you will. But it was like the biggest numbers with the lowest payouts. So everybody was always like, this is bullshit. Like, how are we like winning EVO, the world champion, right? The best of the best in Street Fighter, the biggest numbers, the biggest turnouts, and you walking home with like 12 G's. $12,000. Remember even Punk spoke out about it? I think it raised to like 20,000, like if it broke a certain amount of numbers. So you can get a pretty good chunk, like 20,000, something like that, depending on the turnout. Especially with Street Fighter 6, it's been getting a lot better. But now they're saying 500,000 split across the board. So now, I even think I saw Brian F. Before we get to that, Anime FGC News posted this as well. So this is the price pool, 500,000, game one, 100,000, 70,000, 60,000. So you see that split. Then top 8 pricing, first gets 40%. So if we're talking Street Fighter, 100,000, 40%, what are we looking about? What, $40,000? Then I see Brian F. This is the one I was talking about, where he says minimum guaranteed prize pool increasing to 500,000 across the lineup. Anyone else mixed by the EVO pricing announcement? Does this mean 500K divided by 12 games, 41,066 minimum pricing? Then others kind of agree with that, but Rick, the Hadu, the general manager at EVO, responds to that saying minimum guaranteed pricing is split across the lineup. Games get a preset portion that increases based on where they rank in the total entrants. This is the format seen in Japan and France, coming home to Las Vegas. So once again, he mixes us with the fucking calculations, right? Just give us some numbers, Rick. But either way, it seems like what Brian was saying is pretty much accurate. But he's giving us the formula, right? So it has a minimum guarantee, but also with more entrants, more money. But this is where it gets deeper, right? Because you may not have noticed shit I didn't notice. This is how far away MK has been from my mind as of late. But Mortal Kombat ain't nothing NRS, ain't nothing Mortal Kombat on this damn lineup, and I believe it's the first time in a while. Rewind, y'all know Rewind, major competitor in the NRS community for a long time. He posted this saying, since 2011, Tag in NetherRealm has always been in the lineup at EVO. As of this year, or I'm sorry, next year, that streak is over, and deservedly so. MK1 and the team behind it nuked the franchise into the ground. I love MK, but they sure make it impossible for the OGs to stick around with every new release. Damn. And I see that community reacting as well. You got Christitarian saying, this is what happens when a franchise abandons its soul. NRS and WB offered nothing to the players who spent years carrying the scene and drifted so far from the grim identity that shaped MK's legacy. Watching the homies give everything to this series while the franchise tore itself apart is honestly the saddest part. I even see Foxy Grandpa adding to this as well, saying, I think it's beyond the point where we should care. We haven't been worth one skin in 10 years. Never forget, our strength is in our own communities around the game, but really, we just work as free marketing. Coach Steve adds as well, saying, the truth is sad to read sometimes. I miss y'all. Then wrapping it up, somebody says, this is the worst time to be a Mortal Kombat fan. Mediocre games, mediocre development, mediocre publisher, mediocre movies, mediocre official events. The franchise is gravely wounded and MK1 is to blame. There you have it. How y'all feeling about that? And I wonder why. I wonder if that's it, right? Because remember the MK movie was supposed to come out, part 2, this year. It was supposed to drop on Halloween. And then all of a sudden they did all this promotion. They were like, postponed till next year. And then some people are like, oh, maybe they're cooking more. No, it was done. Ed Boon already went on record saying it's perfect. We love the movie. It is done. So I was like, it's kind of weird as hell that you would build up all this momentum just to hold it for a year. You're going to lose momentum. Now, granted, it'll probably still do big numbers, but it just seemed really weird to me. Plus, you got the Street Fighter movie coming out next year. Then they sell to WB, or WB sells to what? Fucking Netflix. Does it go straight to Netflix now? Like now that they own it? Or does it still go to theater? You know, because a lot of these movies nowadays, they just make debut on Netflix. You know, there's still money in that. But I don't know. Who knows what the hell happens now that fucking Netflix done bought WB or whatever the hell is going on. What's the involvement with NRS in the FGC? Is there any involvement? Do we ever see the devs ever again? Is there another game coming out? Just feels super, I mean, just like abandoned like a mug. I don't know, y'all. What's up with fucking NRS? What's up with the future? I kind of feel like they have never been in a hole this deep. You know, let's be real. Community loves to talk shit. Twitter loves to talk shit. But I don't think they've ever been in a hole this deep where they feel like this betrayed or abandoned by the devs and by a version of the game like fucking MK1. And MK1 dropped with some heat. At least it felt like it did. And then it just turned to shit real quick. But I think W's heal all wounds. If NRS could somehow in the future, whether next year or 27, 28, pull a W out their ass and all is forgiven. We already know that's how it's gonna go. But that's wishful thinking, because if we're looking at the history, that shit don't look like it's gonna happen. And then from there, Maximilian. This is the other thing that's very interesting. Max just dropped a video about 2 hours ago by the time I'm recording this, talking about, you know, how he felt about the games. You know, obviously other people realize that there's no Marvel Tokon at EVO of next year. So some people thought it might be out by then. They're like, oh, this might mean that they're gonna push the game, which made some people feel good because they're like, we feel like a lot of changes need to be made in this game because please still Please let us know that it's still in the oven, like you're still working on it, because we just made a video yesterday talking about how upset people were. Not everybody. Obviously, a lot of people in the community thought it still had some sauce. But you know what I'm saying. Some people, including Max, went on record saying that's good. We would rather have it come out later to make sure they do it right. Well, in saying that, he also used some very interesting wording talking about how he's not really rocking with EVO anymore. Check this out.
I think so. The biggest shock is that Rivals of Aether is in here as well as Invincible Versus. Pretty crazy. Invincible's mostly taken the spot of Mortal Kombat, and no Tokon. So that game's out. That game's much further out than I think we are anticipating. Much further. Which is kind of crazy. And you know what? I think it's kind of a good thing. I'll be completely honest. Tokon's in a spot right now where I would just completely prefer it to come out later and for them to cook on it. Because some parts are a little undercooked in some areas, which we'll talk about a bit. And I just want it, just give them time, dude. Let them cook. I don't need it to come out super early. It just, they had to figure that shit out. That was a pretty decent show. The weirdest thing about EVO this year is that it's in June. What the hell? That's such a weird time frame for EVO. EVO hasn't been in June in forever. It's always in either July or August. Yeah, to tie into my personal announcements and stuff like that. So the big difference this year is that I will be restreaming EVO again this year, but it's going to go back to the older ways we do it. I'm pretty much just going to be restreaming it from home. So for those that were looking forward to us actually like being there and being on stage, not going to happen this year. A lot happened with EVO behind the scenes, and a lot of what EVO ownership and all this kind of stuff is completely fine that it is that way. It's just I'd prefer to do my own thing.
Okay, let's stop right there. He said, you know, because Max is usually there. I think he's taking a break every now and then, but he's usually there streaming live. They started even to do like this big production there where they, you know, they had all his setup. He would do a meet and greet. The line would be around the damn corner. It was a big thing. He's always been a big part of EVO. EVO never paid him for any of this shit. For all the notoriety, for all like the numbers and the eyeballs that he brought to EVO, he said, they don't pay me. Like this is all done out of my own pocket, which I think is crazy and cheap as fuck. Are you serious? EVO needs to be paying out the ass to have somebody like Max. Now, I know at the end of the day, Max is probably like on his humble tip being like, no, I love the community. And that's all great. That's all great. You know, if Max is taking that perspective, more power to him. But it just sounded cheap to me when I know how all this shit works and the money that y'all bringing in. That we're not, they just provide the space for him. He pays everything else out of pocket. And then you hear what he said. He said, recent management changing. Behind the scenes, recent management changing. We're all talking about Saudi and all this other stuff. So he says it's fine for what it is, but now I prefer just to stream from my house.
Than be in like direct association with everything, you know? And I honestly wish for them the best, like I do. I think the stuff that's happening with the prize pool and all this kind of stuff is great. I think this shit is great. But we just go back to doing the stuff that we did before, which is where I'll just be restreaming it from home. I'm gonna act as a viewer and not a direct, I would say, representative. I've been like—
Stop right there. I'm gonna act as a viewer and act as a direct representative, and not act as a direct representative. Y'all, anytime you hear the wording, I wish them the best, come on with that shit. That's a breakup in a relationship. That's your ass getting fired, somebody quitting. I wish them the best. You don't say that unless a certain relationship has changed forever. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Nesto, I think you're reaching. You know what I'm saying? You're reaching into all this wording. No, but I'm telling you the truth. Max is very professional. You know what I'm saying? He's not just going to come out and be like, fuck these guys, or I'm no, this and that. Because there's a piece of him that still respects EVO. You know, you could tell in his voice. He'll always be FGC. He'll always respect that part of the community. So he's not just going to come out and just fire shots, because obviously there's a piece of him, like he says, I wish them the best. But also in saying that, because of the recent changes, he's like, I don't want to be a direct representative anymore. I don't want to hold that title because of how it's changing. So let's just step on back and I can just do it from home like everybody else.
Like a direct representative of EVO pretty much officially since 2012. So that being said, I still wish for a viewer and not a direct, I would say, representative. I've been like a direct representative of EVO pretty much officially since 2012. So that being said, I still wish for them everything the best, dude. I know all the people that work on this stuff and they do an amazing job. The experience you guys will get is almost identical, at least from the streaming side. The difference is that we'll have to go to some other events and things like that to meet up so I can give you guys cool things and have cool in-person stuff, because usually EVO was our big in-person capable ability for us to like give back to people in some way and give away cool things and all that kind of stuff. I would just honestly prefer to do it from the comfort of my own location and stuff like that, and have the big Kidia EVO thing be its thing. Anyway, that was a great show. I think they did a really goddamn good job. And extending the official games, you know what they did? They extended everything to like 12 games, and they allowed prize pools to benefit all 12 games now. Instead of like, oh, here's a bunch of side games. Here's a bunch of side games that do not have as much support, you know? They're just not even doing that shit anymore. There's just a whole bunch of goddamn games now that will exist and have decent prize pools. Yeah, cool.
So there we have it. He said, you notice how he also said, I'd just rather have this whole Kidia EVO thing do its thing. Once again, that's the gaming company, right? Affiliated with Saudi that now is like running EVO. Well, I should say one of the major partners. I'm not sure exactly what percent, but y'all know what I'm talking about. We already covered that story. Saudi is in the building. This is probably the first time where I heard Maximilian low-key kind of come out and take a stand against that in his own unique way, where he's like, I still love the community, I still love EVO, but because of the way it's changing and all the other stuff, he just said behind the scenes, so we don't know what that all entails, right? But because of that, he's like, you know what? I just feel more comfortable kind of just pulling it back, and let's just do it the way we were doing it. It worked before, but now we'll have to figure out more events to go to actually meet and greet you guys. Damn, because EVO was that chance where you can go and everybody would meet Max. And now he's like, we got to figure out other stuff to go to so we can meet you guys in real person. Damn. How y'all feeling? Definitely is Butt Check family. Definitely let me know how you are feeling. This is the only video for the day. Tomorrow is what, Thursday? We'll definitely have one. I'm gonna do my best to post one earlier tomorrow. We probably won't have another sponsor until like the weekend or Monday or something like that. But either way, thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's late, but I had to talk about this stuff, man, and just unpack these buttons. So there's a lot. There's so much. And once again, I feel like it's the best of times and the worst of times in the FGC. How y'all feeling? But either way, somehow, some way, it's about to get better. Love y'all, family. Peace.
Blah, blah, blah. Subscribe.
I know if I ever said I got a little money, I'd never leave the ghetto. As soon as I got some money, I'm gone.